fans, and welcome to the Blue Note Fan Report. I'm Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, your host on the show that is by a fan, for a fan, and about the fans. We're all kind of missing hockey, so I'm going to do this special show today. Normally, I have Haley York here as my co-host. If you've watched a couple shows, you know about this beautiful angel and how she always wanted to be a YouTube star, but unfortunately is no longer with us. But today, Haley, I'm going to replace you, but just temporarily. You'll be back. I've been scouring the internet for different Facebook groups, and I found this group called the Real Hockey Hall of Fame. Got in that group, started joining it, and noticed that they were asking some really good questions. I got a hold of the admin, operator, owner of the group, and asked if that person would come on the show, and she said absolutely. So please, Hawaii Blues fan clan, welcome Justina Berkosky. Aloha, Justina, and welcome to the show.
That's Berkosky, you boo.
Oh, I screwed it up. See?
No, we're rolling.
Yeah, we're rolling. Okay.
Folks, I just gotta say, Guy, what a ham he is. He'll do anything to get anyone on his show. He even sent me a fruit basket. Well, first, actually, he sent me 2 tickets to Hawaii where he's at to do this interview with him. And then all of a sudden he said, oh, I can't send them, you can't come. He blamed it on some kind of virus or something? Man, can you believe this guy? But anyway, so he felt bad that I couldn't get to Hawaii, and I'm in gloomy Pennsylvania with all these sweaters I have to wear because it's so cold. But he sent me this fruit basket, this fruit bowl. And of course it's blue, because it has to be with the Blues. And I don't know how he fit everything in this bowl. Like this Blues Chucky he sent me. And this giant bag of alcoholic beverages that actually broke my chair that I'm sitting in, so I have 2 legs. So, Guy, I appreciate it. And with all that, I had to do the interview. You're so persistent.
Well, that's what you got to do when you're in show business, right, Justina?
Yeah.
So, the reason I invited you on, Justina, is I'm primarily a Blues fan. I love hockey, but my focus is Blues, and I've been watching your page, and I want to make sure I got it right. It is the Real Hockey Hall of Fame group?
The Real Pro Hockey
Hall of Fame. Right? So,
same thing.
Fans, clan fans, you can check that group out. I might invite a bunch of you to join it. She asked some really good trivia questions. And in fact, they're so good, I got to go look them up most times. So I give her some credit on that one. But I thought we would do, since hockey's on pause for like 2 weeks now, for Blues fans, the last game was the Bouwmeester makeup game against the Ducks. And, you know, just yesterday, the Blues announced that John Kelly, their TV play-by-play guy, has COVID-19, or actually is recovering from COVID-19. So I wanted to talk about each division, where the teams sit, and what their outlook is when hockey comes back. We're going to do 4 or 5 shows. We're going to talk about each division. Today we're going to start with the Atlantic. We'll go from the bottom to the top and just tell our opinions. How's that sound with you, Justina?
It's perfect.
So, Justina, we're going to start with the Atlantic Division, and we're going to start with the team that's at the bottom of the league, the Detroit Red Wings. In my eyes, Detroit is done. Right now, they have 11 games left. 4 of them are against, they play all 4 first-place teams. They play one of them twice. They're mathematically, technically eliminated from the playoffs. However, there are a few scenarios out there that would have all 31 teams in, which in some ways I like, in some ways I don't. One way that I like it is that the NHL has already paid all the players through the regular season. So the players on Detroit really have nothing to play for. So instead of looking at playoff scenarios or playoff possibilities for them, let's talk about what they need going forward, what they're going to need when the season restarts next year. What does Stevie Y have to do to rebuild that team? So in my eyes, they've got Brunet, who you really like as a goalie. They've got Dylan Larkin, who's older but not old. They have Robbie Fabry, who they absolutely stole from the Blues for Delarose. And Stevie Y is a pretty good GM, and I thought they would be a little bit higher than they were. Their big negative to me is Jimmy Howard. He's 36 years old, and he's showing every bit of that wear. Justina, what do you think Detroit needs to do to really come back strong in the next year or two?
Okay, so if I was them, I would keep John Berkosky at goalie, but as the second goalie. He was in Anaheim as a backup behind John Gibson. Did really well when they almost made that run in 2017. So I like him. I think some of what hurts him is the defense that doesn't help too much. And I keep Bernier as back goalie. Goalie said Howard's starting to get up there now. And, well, they also, they drafted that one guy. What's his name? Remember last year in the draft?
Oh, I'm terrible with names.
And he played this year. I can't remember his name now.
Yeah,
you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I know who you're talking about, but I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, I'm terrible with names. When we remember it, we'll come back to it. So for me, I think Stevie Y needs the 2 more years.
They basically just.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that, get another goalie, keep Bernier, they have the young, fast movement. They have the good, speedy young guys like Dylan Larkin. He's only in his the 15 draft, so he's fine. They have a lot of speed pieces. I think they should really just. I don't know, get a couple big names in free agents, fix around them, and just keep building with their system, with the draft. Get a goalie.
Yeah, I'm with you that they need a goalie. I don't know if it's going to be through the draft. Sorry. I don't know if it's going to be through the draft or free agency. I don't know what's really going to be out there during free agency. One goalie they could possibly look at, because I think the Blues would trade him, would be Jake Allen. And I think with some defensive help, Allen would be good. Allen is, and I know some Blues fans don't like Allen at all, but Allen would be helpful to that team. There's a few other backups out there that I think would really be helpful to that team. They've got good ownership, though. The Ilitches, even though the senior Ilitch had passed away, his son is still committed to the team. They built that new arena. They hired Stevie Y. You can tell there's a commitment there. They're going to bring the Red Wings back. So from the Red Wings, we move up to.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
It's going to take time, but that's okay. I mean, people got to remember, if you're a Red Wings fan, you had so much success to fall back on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So give it time. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. So we move up to a team that's in the opposite.
They've been destroyed.
Yeah. We move up into a team that's in the opposite of Detroit. A team with a bad owner is the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa, I actually am surprised that they're not at the bottom of the league. But they've got some talent on that team. Tkachuk has really come out and shown that he can play. I mean, this is his second year, I think. Talking about Brady Tkachuk, he made the All-Star team this year. I think part of that might have been with the All-Star game being in St. Louis. This team needs a change in ownership because they need an owner that's going to be committed. You think about this. This team is in the center of the hockey world. Ottawa, Canada, capital of Canada, Hockey Central, and they can't draw crap. That's ownership. You should be able to draw a full arena all the time, but you got to put a product on the ice, and they're not. And I don't see, other than a couple of young stars, I don't see any prospects for them. I just see them trading them away before they hit their free agency marks. Justina, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared that he's an owner like who the Edmonton Oilers used to have. Remember back in the 80s with what's his name, where he sold all the pieces away for money because he was bankrupt and he didn't even care about hockey or the team.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to care about competing. And it's a shame because they have a lot of incredible pieces where I actually think the Senators just is like, I'm very optimistic about them if they got a couple more pieces. I like Anthony Duclair.
Yeah.
He is phenomenal. Bobby Ryan came back, if you remember, right before the break, and he had that hat trick, and he looks back to old Bobby Ryan like when he was on the Ducks.
Yeah.
He looks great. Duclair, oh my God, I really like a ton of the pieces they have.
Yeah.
I really do. I think if they get a couple more pieces, I really think they have a base to build on. And if I'm a fan, I'm optimistic about what I have. I'm just scared about if the owner gives a shit or not.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
Oh, no, you're
gives
fine.
a crap.
I let the
That's
sailor
my
out
problem,
every
because
now
like
and
you
then.
said, what if they just keep trading?
Yeah, to me, they need...
Like they traded away, they got
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say that they traded who was it earlier in the year, and I thought they were gonna keep them for their build around their base was Nemistikov.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah. Well, too, they traded Stone away last year.
Yeah. They keep, like you said, you pointed it out. Every time they get a couple good pieces, they trade them at the trade deadline for draft picks. But draft picks don't guarantee success because you don't know what you're going to get in the draft. I would rather pick up youthful guys off other teams that I at least have seen them do something or seen them do good.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Compile a bunch of draft picks and hoard them? Like in a closet? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Draft picks still have to become a player. You know what I mean?
I think what's happening there is this is an owner that knows people are going to come. This is Chicago Cubs, right? Didn't matter what they put on the field, people were going to show up, right? So in Ottawa, it's the same thing. It's hockey. People are going to show up, right? But they're not filling the building up. They're selling seats out, but they're not filling the building up. And that's important to me. It's not necessarily... It's who's in the seats, not who bought the seats. And the diehard, the hockey fan, the Ottawa fan isn't showing up to the games. And they're showing up to see Montreal. They're going to Toronto. They're watching other teams. The one thing that this team needs, and it costs, is veteran leadership. They need a veteran to come in that's going to say, the owner doesn't matter. You shouldn't be playing for a paycheck. You should be playing for this. Right? That's what we should be playing for, because that's your paycheck. And showing the ring, I don't know if you can see it, but that's what they need. That's what Ottawa needs. So we're going to move on from Ottawa and go up to a team that I think is in both of those boats, the Buffalo Sabres. I was looking up there, and I think Melody Martin is a Buffaloes fan, and she did a song video called Hey Jason Bartle, a parody of Hey Delilah. And she just sings about how bad things are in Buffalo. Buffalo's got Jack Eichel, who's not bad. They've also got, who's the other guy on there right now? They've just got that's starting to heat up. Do you know what I'm talking about? Players.
Wayne Simmons?
Yeah, Simmons. Well, they got Simmons and somebody else, but another young guy they just got. But this is a team that really should be better than what they are. This is another team that lacks a goaltender in my eyes. Carter Hudson is not a number one. He was never gonna be a number one, and they overreached when they paid him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's when that whole I don't know what happened. He won't leave, and the Islanders, and just different. So but didn't like playing, or I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And so that would, and but so yeah, you're right. So then I think they got desperate with losing Robin Lear and then grabbed Carter Hutton from the Blues, thinking, oh, okay, well, he'll fill in the spot fine because it's not like Robin Lear did that good.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know. I think you're right. I think he is a little overrated. I think he'd be a great backup, like you said.
Yeah.
The one day. He'd make a good backup, but maybe not the guy for the Sabres. But the Sabres are, oh, God, all the pieces. I mean, cut me off when you want to say whatever, but I am high on the Sabres. They are on the rise. They are right there.
I'm slightly high on the Sabres.
They just missed.
The thing that I look at the Sabres, see, Jason Bartel was a Sabres player who became a GM, and in some cases that works. In other cases, it doesn't. And in Melody's song, she keeps saying, do something. Hey, Jason, do something. You got to do something. Well, what is that something? You know, I heard somebody ask that question. What is the something? You know, she got to do something. Well, and to be honest, I don't know what that something is because everything that they do doesn't work. And an absolute something that proves that is the Ryan O'Reilly trade. He trades Ryan O'Reilly away for 4 pieces. He trades him away for Sobotka, Tage Thompson, Patrick Bergeron, and a first-round pick. First-round pick ended up being the last pick in the draft, 31st pick in the draft. I don't know where that guy is right now. Patrick Bergeron, who never wanted to leave the Blues, whose agent kind of screwed him a little bit, lost his love for hockey in that city, same as Ryan O'Reilly did. Tage Thompson's hurt, and Sobotka's, you know, since he came back from the KHL, he's been junk. KHL destroyed him. So this 4-1 trade really didn't do them any good. Agreed? Disagree?
Yeah. You're 100% right, but I'll sprinkle some optimism. I'll say at least he made a bold move to get some pieces to make the team all around better.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like trade one piece to get 4 separate pieces, like the defensemen, everything, to fill in more holes. That's why he traded Ryan O'Reilly away, to try to get more pieces all around. I guess it was a good, he meant well, and it's a chance you sometimes have to take where, say it all worked, he'd be called a genius.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these, you know what I mean? So I like the move, because look at the Coyotes GM. Remember he made that trade where he took pieces that weren't even going to play, but to get the guys he did want. And everyone was like, oh, he's crazy. What is he doing? He has Marian Hossa and Pavel Datsyuk that aren't even going to play in contract. He took their contracts to get the guys he wanted, and everyone was like, oh, this guy's an idiot, or it's like, no, it was, bold, but the Coyotes, like, it worked for them, and they're looking better. The Sabres, I guess it's just bum luck. It's just bum luck what happened, but I admire his, at least, effort to try.
I will say that.
And then he grabbed Wayne Simmons at the trade deadline right now, and I feel like they're trying, and I feel like they're kind of like right there. And it might just take the right one piece to come in, one more piece.
Yeah, this is another team that I think needs
to work with Jack Eichel.
Yeah, this is another piece that I think needs that veteran leadership.
A goalie, like you said, and one more piece to go with Jack Eichel. Like maybe, like I was going to bring up later, but let me just bring him up anyway. He did phenomenal with the Canadiens when they traded for him. He fit right into their system. He gave them a spark. Was Ilya Kovalchuk.
Yeah.
So somebody like that, you know.
Yeah. Well,
there won't be a leader, but will get you like points and a spark, you know.
Yeah. Well, see that, and speaking of Kovalchuk, I think that Buffalo needs that veteran leadership. And you just mentioned it. We'll go to our next team, the team that is in 5th in the Atlantic, the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the Canadiens kind of are a surprise to me. I thought that they were going to have a much better year than they've had. I thought they would be challenging for a top 3 position, not fighting for a wild card. Carey Price, as all-world as he was, I don't think he's there anymore. I think, when we talked last time, we talked about their defense not holding up. I mean, they're at a -9 goal differential. that a -9 tells me your defense is doing a pretty decent job and your goaltender's, doing a decent job. I think that's just a team. When Kovalchuk came in, he's a guy that's for Kovalchuk. He's not a leadership guy. And these teams that are at the bottom, I mean, that's the thing that we've seen so far. Veteran leadership, veteran leadership, veteran leadership, veteran leadership. If you don't have that, you don't go anywhere. And we'll talk about later, but with the Ryan O'Reilly trade to Buffalo, or from Buffalo to St. Louis, was perfect for Buffalo, that it did give them some pieces, and it took O'Reilly out of what was considered to be a poisonous locker room. Problem, the locker room was poisonous is O'Reilly had a work ethic that nobody else had. And that turned the locker room poisonous. You need that veteran leadership to make that poison go away. And they just don't have it, and they might need a coaching change too. That's just kind of my opinion. So moving into Montreal. Montreal is one of those teams to me that is a disappointment. They need to be fighting for a top 3 spot, right? And they should be. And where they're at, just kind of, other than Price, they got rid of Kovalchuk. What else are they going to do? They just seem like a blah team. What do you think?
Well, let's look at the good and the bad.
Okay.
So, the good is that a couple years ago, or what was it, 2 years ago, Tomas Tatar looked like crap, and everyone's like, why did Vegas trade for him? Remember that? He did terrible on the Golden Knights.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Canadiens bring him in. He's phenomenal there, and he's one of their best players.
Yeah.
So, I see them trying and getting pieces like Tatar. Yeah. They went and got Kovalchuk. They went and got I hate when your mind goes completely blank.
Oh, I know.
But yeah, they have all these pieces. They grabbed what's his name from the Jets on defense. You know what I'm talking about? He was one of their main defensemen. They keep grabbing. They're grabbing all these pieces that are working for the team. He was the guy who was on that Jets team that had that great run a couple years ago, and he was there last year. When they eliminated the Predators from the year before, went to the final.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The point is that he was the main defenseman on the Jets. Yeah. They grabbed him in the free agency last year. Yeah. They've been grabbing in the past couple years. If anyone knows, the past 2 years they've been grabbing piece after piece, and they have been working in their chemistry.
Yeah. Well,
like Tatar worked. Kovalchuk did work before they traded him. I'm not saying as a leader, but man, he averaged, I think it was a point and a half a game in the span he was there.
Yeah.
So with the pieces they have, bring in a good locker room leader veteran, like you're saying, and a couple more people. And they have that rookie, the kid. He's like 18 years old, from Finland. What is wrong with my memory? Yeah, but everyone knows who I'm talking about.
Are you talking about
Kasperi, who is it?
Boy, both our minds are slipping us. So, well, I'm with you there. They do have some pieces, and that's why I say I'm disappointed in them. I just think that this is a team that really does need to be in the playoffs and ready to go. So now we move into the contenders in this division. And fourth is the Florida Panthers. And the Florida Panthers made 2 big moves in the offseason. One, I think, is paying off. The other one isn't. The first one is the coach. They got Coach Quenneville. They picked him up. And the second one is Brovsky, the goalie. They signed him as a free agent. I really thought Florida was going to be a better team and much more challenging for that spot. Right now, I think they're 6 points or 4 points out of the third place spot, somewhere right around there. They could do better. I just haven't seen it yet. But they get in the playoffs. It's a scary team in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Right? Quenneville is really... Quenneville... Some people think Quenneville's a defensive coach, but he's really not. He's one of those coaches that believes that their offense comes through their defense. They get offense by being tough on the puck, by being heavy on the forecheck, by moving the puck out of the zone and opening up the offensive zone by clearing your defensive zone. They keep doing that, and especially in the playoffs, that's what wins championships, right? The teams that have won the playoffs in the last couple of years, won the cup, were heavy forechecking teams that had defensemen and forwards that forechecked. Pittsburgh 2 years in a row, Washington last year or 2 years ago, and St. Louis last year. That's it. It's the forecheck. The forecheck sets up your offense. And I'm talking on. This is a team that needs that or has that forechecking, but they haven't figured out how to make it work in the regular season. Agreed?
Yeah. Yes. Florida has all the pieces, and I don't understand why they are the redheaded stepchild of the NHL, and people are like, oh, they're so unpopular and I hate them. They are probably the most fun team to watch. They got Jonathan Huberdeau, Daninoff. They have all these speedy guys that could score and put up probably 40. They had Vincent Trocheck, but they traded him away. They are loaded, and now they have Bobrovsky at goalie. They have all the pieces, but they don't have that, maybe that one veteran guy like a Ryan O'Reilly like you brought up to put the whole thing together. They had it back in 15-16 when they made the playoffs last time with Jágr. Jágr came in there, and he wasn't the same Jágr, obviously, but he, I don't know, like, just his veteranship for the locker room got them all together. And he still had the ability, because he always still has his skill, and he has that bigger kind of body where he can keep the puck away. So if they just get someone like him to maybe balance all this young talent where they're phenomenal, they have all the talent in the world, but maybe a couple of veteran pieces like a Jágr, because it worked before they got to the playoffs then.
They also have that forward, I think it's Barkov, right? The guy's really like...
Barkov, He's the main one, Alexander Barkov. He's the guy who could do all of them are so. Do you see what they do? He made 2 goals through the legs. Yeah. Like on a regular game, they are phenomenal. Yeah. That's what I mean. They have all the skill. Yeah. Barkov, I forgot about him. He's their star. He's their Pavel Bure.
Right, and they're the guy. They're the team.
Everyone.
Yeah, they're the team that should be fighting for a top 3 spot, not a wild card spot in my eyes. So let's move right on to our top 3. And the first team we're going to talk about is I'll call them the Boston Red Sox of the NHL, the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're the team that just can't seem to, like they got a curse on them, can't seem to win a cup. They haven't won one since 67, I think. 66, 67, somewhere around there. Right? And, they're just that team that just can't seem to do it. Now, for me, this is a team that's really got the pieces. They've got Austin Matthews, the kid from the hockey hotbed of Phoenix, Arizona, who just plays really good. He's got it, First game of his career, what's he do? He scores 4 goals. He's getting better. He's getting better. Tavares did something that is not recommended. He played for his hometown team. I'm really happy about that. I think, a lot of Blues fans wanted him in St. Louis. He's the veteran leadership that I think Toronto needs. Toronto and you talked about it a little earlier when we were in pre-production, they got a big brother they can't beat, and I'll let you talk about their big brother.
Yes, the Boston Bruins are their big brother, and historically in the NHL, every team that's ever won had to get past and slay their big brother. Every team always lost to win. I'll give you a couple examples. The Blackhawks of 2010, when they started their dynasty, at first they couldn't get past that Red Wings team that was winning the decade before. The Blues the same way. If you look at the playoffs the last 5 years, they always couldn't get past the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks are like the Blues' big brother. Until now, they got over that hump, and the Blackhawks don't have that aura about them anymore that makes them scary. No team's afraid of them anymore. The same thing happened to the Penguins with the Capitals. The Capitals could never beat them. Then once they beat them a couple years ago, that aura's gone where the Penguins don't seem like that team they can't beat anymore. It takes the monkey off the back and the weight off the shoulders. And Toronto needs to beat the big bad, big brother Bruins. The big bad, Bruins. Well, that's what it is. But to me, real quick, the problem is, and you agree with me, they play too much, like you said. Now this is your line, the Harlem Globetrotters. They play too pretty, like it's basketball. Where they put up all these beautiful points and they're fun to watch. But do they have the physicality? Do they have the instigator like how the Bruins have Brad Marchand, who's like a Darius Kasparaitis, will get in your head mentally and physically? Game 2 against the Maple Leafs, they brought the physicality out last year.
Yeah.
Did the Maple Leafs, and they showed you could do it, but they got to keep that. They got to get more physical because the teams that always win the Stanley Cup, aren't they the most physical team?
Well,
Or at least get them?
usually, right? Especially in the last, I'd say, decade. The physical teams are the ones that are winning. The veteran teams are the ones that are winning, not the put-together teams with a few minor. And even, I wouldn't say the Blues were a put-together team. I think they were more of a veteran team. They had a few new pieces, but not enough to make you think that they were put together, a put-together team, a one-run team. They weren't that. The Pittsburgh, they've been together a long time. They were not a put-together team. When you look at to get a skilled team that won, you'd have to go all the way back to the 90s with the Red Wings. The 90s and the 2000s when the Red Wings had the Russian Five, the OVs line, that's what they put up, a bunch of OVs. If you said OV at the end of a name, you got one of the players right. But that leads me, what you do now is you lead me into the next step, and that's the team that I think is the Blues of this year. The team that came into the season with a lot of high expectations and came out of the gate flat. Laid a duck egg, a big fat goose egg, and it took them some time to gel. They added a couple of pieces that weren't working right, but they're a veteran team, and that team is the Tampa Bay Lightning. That first round knockout by the Blue Jackets stung them bad. What do you think about Tampa Bay right now?
Well, I don't know if it's going to be really unpopular, but I'm not sold on the Tampa Bay Lightning. I put them in the same category as the Maple Leafs. They put up big numbers during the year. They can win the President's Trophy. They'll lead in all these goals. And every statistic that doesn't seem to matter come playoff time. Come playoff time, it seems like it gets more physical. Obviously, the rink gets smaller, as all the cliches, and they eliminate all the offense. And the pretty teams go away pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, we absolutely saw that in last year's playoffs. If you look at three of the 4 teams that were in first place last year were what I would consider the pretty teams. I would consider the Capitals a very offensive team. I would consider Tampa Bay an offensive team. I consider Calgary an offensive team. The one division winner that I would have been the Nashville Predators last year. They were a gritty team, but they came up against a goalie that was grittier. And we'll talk about that division later. But you're right in that aspect of these pretty teams just not getting it. But they added 2 pieces that I thought were really good pieces. And maybe because I'm a little biased, but they added Kevin Shattenkirk, a power play specialist, a very good defenseman, and they added St. Louisan Pat Maroon. Pat Maroon wanted to stay in St. Louis. St. Louis kind of felt like, for the money he should have gotten paid, they didn't want to pay that. He got next to nothing. He did not get a big pay. I mean, he was affordable. But he's a pest, like you talked about. I will never forget this. I think it was game 4. Game 2 or game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. He skates by the Bruins and just looks at him and goes, "You're fucked." I mean, and that's a quote, but you could see in the Bruins' faces. They were like, "What?" He was in their mind already. And this team's got that, and it's starting to gel, and that's why I think that they could be this team that surprises a lot of people. Where they're at now, they could go anywhere from second to the wild card spot, to be honest with you. And if they get in, as long as they're in, they're a team that I see, they're an Eastern Conference final team. I absolutely see that. They are, I think that they could, and that last game that they played before the pause, they had a huge couple of games against Boston where they came out just smoking. right? Boston wasn't going to go away, but they came out smoking. They showed Boston we can play that physical game. So with me, Tampa is that team you cannot sleep on.
Yeah. I was not sold on them at all, but then before the break, and they had that game that you brought up against the Bruins, and then there was that all big brawl where everybody got involved. I think that was them hinting at, hey, this year, you knew we already had the skill part, but now we're going to show you we're going to be this more physical team, and I think that's what they were getting ready for before the break happened.
Yeah, I absolutely.
I think it was a little subliminal message.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Now we got to talk about a team that I absolutely, positively hate. It is at the top of my hate list. Well, not the top, it's third, but falls after Chicago and Nashville, Trashville, the Boston Bruins. Now, if you took one player off the Bruins, I could tolerate this team. I could absolutely tolerate this team. If you took the Rat, Brad Marchand, off this team, I could tolerate him. He is enough for me to just despise. This guy pisses me off because he has so much talent. He is so talented. Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman had all the talent in the world, but he had to be theatrical. Marchand is just plain frickin' dirty. This team leads the league. They're the only team at 100 points. They're playing amazing hockey. They have 12 overtime losses. This is that loser point that's helped them. Be honest, I love the loser point, and that's something we can talk about when we get in the playoffs about how structure and that. I do also like up until game 81. I love point percentage or winning percentage, however you want to look at it. But Boston, for me, this is a team that wants the ring again, right? They want another ring, and they want it now. They have the talent. Tuukka Rask, they took my cup. Pasternak has stepped it up. And I got to tell you, something that was, I think, really good for him, and this is going to sound like I'm completely off my rocker. Him doing those commercials with the female player, Kendall Coyne's, Schofield, doing those Dunkin' Donut commercials, loosened him up. He has played such a free-flowing, wide-eyed game, right? I don't think he saw the game the same way before as he does now. I don't know if you've seen it, and I know I'm talking on a little bit, but there's a recent movie out called Ford versus Ferrari. And one of the characters in this is talking about going 190 miles an hour and saying your eyesight goes from this to this with the speed. You don't get smaller, you get bigger because you have to see, because it's coming so quicker. I think that Pasternak loosening up, doing these commercials, having fun, made him go from seeing the rink like this to seeing the rink like Gretzky saw it. And I got to tell you, you take Marchand off that team, I'd almost root for the Bruins, and you don't know how bad I'm going to get it for just saying that. What do you think?
Okay, you're gonna hate me, but I like players like Brad Marchand because I'm not saying I like everything he does, whether he hits you with a stick or dirty things, but I like players like him because I also watch sports for a little bit of theater and not just to take it too seriously as a sport. I like them to show off their characters and have different characters. It's good for marketing and it's good for the show. Like, I like the theatrics, but also, you know, to your point, I don't blame someone for saying I don't like certain things he does. If you look at his stats, it's funny how if he didn't get suspended a couple of times, I think there was 3 years in a row where he could have hit the 40-goal mark and he hit like 38 because he got suspended at the end of the year. Yeah. So you always have to wonder what his goal numbers could have been. Could he have hit 50? You know what I mean? Where Butch Marchand's real ceiling is unbelievable. Everyone thinks he's just some role player guy or some piece. It's like, no, he gets to about 38 goals a year at times where I think he could hit 50. And
Justina, I absolutely agree with you. My problem is he's such a good player. Why the dirty stuff? Why? He doesn't need it. He doesn't need to go after people's knees. He doesn't need to, stick and trip and pull. There are countless videos. You look on YouTube, you do any search, Brad Marchand cheap shots. You will find 50 to 100 videos that show numerous, and I'm not talking like the same cheap shot, over and over. I'm talking different cheap shot upon different cheap shot upon different cheap shot. During the finals, he went after Tereshchenko's knee a couple of times, and Tereshchenko needed knee surgery after the finals, and he straight up said it was because of Marchand kneeing him a couple of times. So this is, you don't need that. You're the player that doesn't need that. You're not Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson doesn't have your talent. Pat Maroon, who's not dirty but gritty, right, doesn't have your talent. You have the talent. Don't destroy it. And that's the thing with him. He's got this reputation of just being the rat. And if you threw that away, the second he throws that away and he goes out and he plays hockey, like he should play hockey, he will be that superstar and Boston will win a cup. As long as he keeps the cheap shots, and this is, I'm going to bring up Game 5. And everybody talks about Game 5 in the Stanley Cup Finals last year, with the Blues, the trip, right? I forget which player on Boston was tripped, but it was, not Bortuzzo, Bozak, actually goes in and hits the puck first. His stick goes in, hits the puck, and as he hits the puck, and now this is what everybody forgets, he played the puck first. The Boston player falling over or tripping over the stick becomes less of an importance because the puck was touched first. All right? A lot of people forget that. You touch the puck first, you kind of got some leeway with your stick. It's not like you were trying to stick. And not only that, earlier in that game, on a Blues power play, you can watch Alexander Steen standing right in front of the net, and I don't know who it was, take that stick and just sweep. He goes down like this, straight down. You can see it. Not called. On a power play, that's not called. So I don't have a problem. And even if I'd like to think that if this is the opposite, that I'd have felt the same way, watching the play in slow motion the same way. But the other thing about that play, and you and me talked about this a couple days ago when we were in pre-production, was everybody but one player stopped skating. And the only player that didn't stop skating was? Pasternak. Everybody else wanted a whistle. Pasternak kept playing. If they don't stop, I don't think that goal scores. But I also will say this. If that goal doesn't score, that game ends 1-0, not 2-1. Right? I don't think that Boston scores a goal. If you've ever noticed with the Blues, once they get up 2 goals, their defense loosens up and they start playing a little bit of a prevent defense, and that usually allows a goal. Sometimes it allows 2 goals and puts it away. The Blues, once they were up 2-0 in that game, in the third period, did go into a bit of a prevent, and especially towards the end, and that's why Boston got that goal. So I still don't think that play was as big as most people make it out to be. Boston, serious contender in my eyes. And I got it, the road to the Stanley Cup is going to go through Boston this year. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Boston overall is the greatest team right now.
I'll argue with that a little bit, but they are. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't mean they can't be beat. I'm just saying I think that on paper now. Let's remember the on paper thing. They have, or the team, to me overall, that have everything that you can ask for. If you're building a team like a winner, they're scary. And what was a pain in the ass about them, and I don't know if they planned it by just staying in games or to get by, or if it's a coincidence. But how you brought it up, and we both brought it up, is they have the 12 overtime points.
Yeah.
Man, that really gave them that gap.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't win, they compiled those 12 overtime loss points.
Yeah. That's huge. That really is huge for them, and it is the separation. You take that away, and they're not in first place, and they're not in first place in the league either. So
yeah, that's something. So
yeah, I actually think so. Overall, I think the top of the East is better than the top of the West, but I think overall, from top to bottom, the West is better than the East. Right? In the West, I think every single team that makes the playoffs could win the Western Division. In the East, I don't think that. Last year it was close. This year, I don't think that. I think that there's enough separation that has happened with the teams that this division here is going to be very interesting, no matter how it plays out. Well, Justina, we've been talking for a little while here. I want to thank you so much for joining me on this first edition of our divisional breakdown. I look forward to our next show. I'm hoping that you and me will be filming sometime middle of the week, and we'll get the show out. Hope to get the show out very soon. Justina, again, from me, Guy the Hawaii Blues fan, and from the Hawaii Blues fan clan, who group you just joined, I want to say thank you, aloha, mahalo, and I can't wait to see you again on the Blue Note Fan Report.
yeah, thanks for the fruit basket, and thanks for that letter you sent in that gave me the address to your house so I can help you change a light bulb. What does that mean?
Well, the one up here just don't work right.
But seriously though, thanks. This was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the next division we'll talk about will be the Metro. Aloha.
Metro.